Okay. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Free Ladies Show. I'm your host, Brittney McWethy. Real quick, I'm sorry that there wasn't an episode out last week. That's the second time in a year and a half that I haven't had an episode come out weekly. But you know what? It's okay. I know some of you reached out and were like, where's your podcast this week? And like, you know what? There's not one. There's too much going on. I just opened up my own salon studio a week and a half ago. I went to Lion's Den Live, which I've met Colleen here. And, there's just been a lot going on. I just didn't get it together, and that's okay. So that just makes me human. And I want you to know what's really important about that is it's okay not to be perfect all the time. Not that I am trying to be perfect, but it's just okay if things aren't going to go as planned. And you just have to roll with it and let that energy go, because being guilty or that doesn't serve me or serve anybody. So I'm like, I know I got, podcast line up, and here we are. Colleen and I were going to, is it Colleen or Colleen?
Like Colleen. So whatever you feel like calling me is perfect.
Then. So we actually had this scheduled a couple weeks ago. I forget what happened. And, but it was really cool. So I met her last week, you guys, and I was like, and her energy, you're so beautiful. Like what you have to say. I'm so excited. I'm more excited to have her on. So Colleen, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being here. Tell everyone who are you and what you do.
Oh my gosh. Like how much time do we have? I know the list. I know, right? Like Cole's Notes version, soul mission activator, spiritual guide. Basically my mission on earth is to help people really align in what they're actually here to do. And then to own that power and truth, and to dismantle all the conformities in life so that they can actually be who they're meant to be and really embody who they're meant to embody. And yeah, it's been a wild ride. I live in Costa Rica, and like you said, like we just met live at the den at the Lion's Den Live this past week. But it's like, I don't know, I was just connected to you when I first saw you in an Instagram group, and then I reached out and I was like, hey, this is who I am. Would you be open to having me on your podcast? Because I think we could riff off of some cool shit. And here we are. So yeah, so fun.
It's so cool. It's just weird. Well, it's not weird, right? Like you're a spiritual, energetic, healing worker, all the things. So, and I am totally all about that vibe. So it's not weird, right? And so, it's just interesting how the world will open up to you when you need people in your life for that reason, season, or a lifetime. And I have fully believed that, this den and the community, I've built everything that I've built now because of it. And it's just a really, really beautiful experience to have that, like I'm here for the people, right? It's just like amazing thing. So we're always, I haven't done this in a while. It's like all of my podcasts, we just jump into it, but it's like, I want to ask you what you're grateful for today.
This is one of those questions that it's cheesy in my mind, because like I live in this purity of gratitude always. Like I was at yoga this morning and I needed to regroup. I literally flew back yesterday, and it's a 16-hour travel day because I have to take 2 flights. I live 3.5 hours from the actual airport. So it's a dynamic movement, right? So I didn't get home till 10:30 last night and was so freaking tired, went to bed. And then my girlfriend teaches yoga, and she was like, look, I'm teaching this morning. I'm like, can you come grab me? Because I don't have my car back till Sunday. Anyways, that's a whole other story, but she did. And I'm laying there literally in Shavasana in the middle of the jungle, right? The rivers are starting to rush because we're in rain season now. So there's more movement of energy. And I literally was just like laying back going, I fucking love my life. Like, I love that I live here. I love that I just came from Salt Lake City. I love that I was able to get on a plane. I love that this and like all the dynamics. And I just I am gratitude because I choose to be in gratitude all the time. So yeah.
Girl, that's so good. I got to clap. So good. That is so good. And that is so beautiful. Like you have to work hard to get there too.
Oh yeah.
I'm sure you worked really, really hard to get into this space. So, let's talk about how long were you born in Canada? Did you live there like most of your life?
Yeah, I'm Canadian. So I was born in a little like the capital of one of the provinces called Winnipeg, which doesn't even have 1 million people. But yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah, I've heard of that.
Winnipeg. Yeah,
Yeah.
you don't need to go there. You're okay.
Okay.
You know, like,
So
unless you
how did you get to Costa Rica?
an intuitive hit. So, when you talk about like God speaks, it was just like one day I woke up last year and it was like, you're moving to Costa Rica. And like I had felt I was moving south and I thought it was going to be Florida though, or Austin. And I knew I was coming south. Like I knew I was maneuvering, but nothing had dropped in. And I live my life by intuitive hits. So I wake up and I go, where do I need to be today? Like literally, that's how I operate. So that morning I just woke up and it's like, you're moving to Costa Rica. And I was like, okay, when am I leaving? And they're like, in the fall of 2022, like this fall. And I'm like, so should I start getting some stuff sold and like, categorized and like, cause I brought 3 duffel bags. That's all. Like, so
Oh,
imagine living in a house full of stuff and you're selling it, donating it, like whatever you're doing with it all, maneuvering it. I have 2 bins still in Canada that have like paperwork in it and like all my leather jackets because I couldn't get rid of them. And because I love leather jackets, they're like my jam, but I can't bring them here because they like get destroyed. Like the jacket I had at LDL, I had to throw out because it was like all of it's coming apart because Costa Rica's eaten my jacket. So it's like a thing, right? So I just have 2 bins and 3 duffel bags later. I moved to Costa Rica with all of that. Like it's just, yeah,
wow.
yeah.
Wow. So
Mm-hmm.
tell us about so you're a soul mission activator and spiritual guide. How did you get to this place doing that?
Yeah. Well, I've been an entrepreneur for 14 years. I jumped into entrepreneurship in the pragmatic sense, business coaching, consulting, growth strategies, process development, leadership development. Like that's kind of what my jam was. And growing up, I would get jobs and go into companies and revamp everything. Then I get promoted and then I get bored and then I go do it again. And I didn't understand that that was like an actual thing. But at the same time that like I thought that everyone was capable of this. I didn't know that people would pay you lots of money to actually do that for their companies. And that was like an asset. But at the time, I literally like 3 days before this. So like I started the company 14 years ago and 3 days later I met my first spiritual mentor and both of the laneways were like running parallel, never crossing. So it was like I was a closet spiritual person and then I was taking all these courses for fun like mediumship and Akashic records work and past life regression and I was getting all these certifications and I had to find case studies to certify and it was more so like hey like you're my friend, would you mind if I like did this reading thing on you just for like this fun thing that I'm doing for myself over here? And like it eventually the people that knew me well knew I was kind of into spirituality, but they didn't know like I was ever going to do anything. And sometimes they would first refer someone, but it was more so like, oh yeah, this is what I charge, even though I was like, I don't know what I charge because I don't even really make money over here. Right. I was like doing the business stuff.
Right.
And it was literally in 2020. And I know that this was a year pivotal for so many people of pivoting and understanding and leaning in and figuring out what was important. All the businesses I was working with shut down, which makes sense because everybody did. Right. And I went, whoa, if they're shut down, they're not paying me. And there's something about this model that's broken. Right.
Right.
And I was like, what the fuck's going on? Right. And this is what was going on. But I just kept hearing this nudge. It's time. And I was like, time for what? Like time for what do you mean it's time? Like time for
Right.
what? Right. And I'm just like,
Get
and
it.
I'm arguing, like literally, I channel through my right side. So I get all my messages dropped in here and I'm arguing. I'm like, what the fuck do you mean? Like it's time. Right. And I'm just like, and they're like, it's time for you to really start to do the work that you're meant to do. And I was like, what is that work? And they're like, you're a soul mission activator. I was like, what does this mean? You
Wow.
know? And so it's really about dropping into a space of understanding that every single person on earth is meant here for reasons, multiple reasons, and understanding that pathway and being able to own it and step into it. And at the time, I tied a lot of the business work to it as well, where I could drop in more entrepreneurial to help people really align and step into that business structure and dismantle all the things that they were told from old coaches, from watching other people. And I'm like, dude, your business model is not like this. This is your model right here, and getting people to really shift and be in that power. But it literally came from surrendering and trusting and taking the leap. I fought it for a while. And then it was like, I would get calls, like people would be referring me, and I never told anybody. I was like, did the universe text you? Like, how the fuck did you like know I was doing this work?
Yeah.
Because I was like resisting it, but they just kept putting people in my space. And then I finally started to own it. 2021 was like that year that I was like, okay, I think I got this. But then 2022 showed up and I was like, I'm all in. I will lead. I will create the programs. I'll do the master classes. I'll lead the circle. Whatever you want me to do, I will listen. And then it just went boom, boom, boom. And it just and now today compared to who I was 4 years ago, it's just, I'm a completely different person.
Yeah.
So
You're
it's so,
unrecognizable.
yeah, it's so interesting. Like even look at pictures of myself and I'm like, oh girl, I get that you got me to where I am today, but shit, yeah.
I get that. And I want to just point this out really quick to the audience. It took her 3 years to step into what she was hearing. Because a lot of you guys out there and a lot of the younger generation, we want it now, 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 now. We get really, really impatient, but it takes work, right? It takes work to love yourself. It takes work to become a successful business. It takes you to surrender, like you said, to really open to what your true purpose is, what your true gift is on this earth. And another good example of that is Alex Simon, who you got to see this weekend with the drumming and everything like that. He always talks about like your passion and what your true purpose is. When you are listening, God will show you what your true purpose is, and you might fight it. We all fight that gut feeling a lot.
Yeah.
And we need to listen to it more. And when you were speaking of pictures, I was looking back on pictures of Lions Den Live last year, and I look so different. Like I'm heavier. I look bloated. My hair's a really dark red color. Like the picture of, I didn't get a picture with Sean this year because it was just too insane. But I wanted to compare like side by side of the picture I had with him because I'm just like, it doesn't look like me. Even energetically, it doesn't look like me. And that's probably what you're seeing too. But that's the cool thing, you guys, about pictures and about being fucking consistent. You can look back and being like, well, shit, bitch, I did grow. It's like, it was so cool with, people that you've helped in the den. I'm sure people came up to you because they got to meet you in person and you had no idea what the movement that you were doing. I see it all the time, Colleen, that you're helping all these people. People are talking about you and it's so cool. And it matters. It's just like people had come up to me at Lions Den Live and I was like, I had no idea who some of these people were, but they're like, I've been watching your podcast. I've been following you for years. And I was like, okay, God, I got to keep going because I don't know about you. I want to burn it all down to the ground sometimes.
Like it's the truth though of it all. Like, and sometimes it feels heavy for us to hold because we're like, can I really do this? And it's like, I made it my mission years ago without even understanding what I actually was moving into the world this way. Like I was like, if I can help one light, then they can go out and help the lights of others. But until they're lit, they're never going to be able to light those lights. And I didn't know what I was even speaking into the world at the time. Like I had no idea. And now I'm like, oh, fuck, I get it now. Like this just makes like so much sense. Right. So yeah.
I get that. That's what I experienced last week. I was like, oh, I am doing something right here, because sometimes, it's like we don't know what we're doing. We don't know whose light we are starting to have lights that you just said. That was so beautiful what you just said, and getting these people to have the bravery, because I went there last year. I didn't talk to barely anybody. I was a scared, unconfident, person that I love myself, but I love myself at like 95%. Right. And I needed that 5% and all these lessons I've learned this last year and a half. And it was just a cool experience having it reversed of like, and this is not like an egotistical thing at all to say, it just is showing us and you that we are doing the right thing, that we are making an impact on other people's lives, because that's all we want to do, especially in this realm, right? In this very spiritual realm of this energetic connection. because people are attracted to lights and certain types of energy.
Yeah.
Right. And
Yeah.
I had, posted today because it's Alex Simon's birthday today.
Yeah.
And, we've become really good friends since then. And it was an energetic connection. And I want you to talk about this from your personal experience, because I even had someone called me and asked me about this today. And it was so weird because I was like, oh my gosh, I'm talking to a spiritual healer today. You know what I mean? Like, and it's just interesting when it's like you love yourself to the fullest and then you open yourself up, and it's not like friends come to you with just like conversations. Friends come to you energetically. And last year I was accidentally in the VIP room. I had no idea until I looked up and I was like, oh shit, there's Sean, Scott, Travis, Greg Anderson sitting next to me. I don't think I'm in the right room, and it was okay. I was meant to be there. And Alec walks in the room and I was like, and we just looked at each other, and we talk about this all the time, and we just hugged each other forever. And I was like, he was like my brother from that moment on. And so it's a very cool thing when you open, like you said, like these voices were trying to connect with you. And until you were like, all right, like let's open this up. Let's open this doorway up. Those energetic connections do come to you. Talk about what energetic connections and relationships are.
Yeah, well, each of us has a soul and each of us has a soul imprint. So we are energy beings. And when we are in relationships, in rooms, or like in conversations, even with people, an energy like alignment comes into play. And some of these are like soul path, meaning like we knew before we incarnated that we would meet, and somewhere along the way, and we're calling out into the world now for our people to find us, to be in collaboration with, for us to just be, like it was so fun. At LDL on Friday night when we were doing the networking, I ended up like taking some people around, and I'm actually not an extrovert. Like I'm an introvert. Like I like my quiet, like, but I know how to be in rooms and I know what this means. So I step into the space and own it. And I walked up to a woman. So I have some women that were with me, and I was walking them around and I was introducing people to everybody. Like I was like, who do you want to meet? Let's go. Right. And I just went because it's just something that I do. But I walked up to one woman and I said, I think I know you. And she's like, no, like I'm a +1. Like I've never even been in the den. Like my husband's in the den. And then we started talking for like a minute. And then she's like, oh my God, are you the Colleen? And I was like, maybe, like you did a call with my husband. And I went, oh my God, he said on the call that he wanted us to meet. And I said, I would love to meet your wife. And I look forward to meeting your wife. So the imprint of energy was already in the field. I was called to her to say hello. My whole body's in goosebumps, by the way, as I say this out loud.
Me too.
And it was like I recognized her energy before. I never saw a picture of her. He didn't show me a picture. I didn't even look at his profile for a picture. Like I didn't know her. And then so after, she was like, Jake, can you believe like Colleen just like found me? And I just went, energy is a real thing. And when we follow the call and we follow the pull, like you go into the VIP room by accident, quote unquote, like it's not an accident that you were in that space. It's not, because if we actually follow that calling all the time, then our tribe shows up, our clients show up, our products and services we're meant to lead with shows up, the career shows up, like all of the things start to move within the field.
Yeah. And I had a conversation with one of my friends today who's been on my podcast, and she asked me, can I talk to you? How do you build your table? And, this is something that all came today. You know what I mean? When I was writing this post about Alec, I was like, all these people at my table came to me energetically. They started with little conversations here and there, but then it was a very energetic spiritual transfer for me, at least. You know what I mean? Because I feel those things, and it's like you just have to feel those things. You have to put yourself in the room, right? Like I can be very introvert here in my own space. When I'm out, I'm very much an extrovert. But sometimes when I'm out, I can be an introvert, like I was last year at LDL, because I was like, what room did I just walk into? Right.
Yeah.
Here
Yeah.
I'm more comfortable being in the room because I know so many people. I had my table with me, I had, all these people with me, but it was like, it's just a force to, I don't want to say be reckoned with. It's a force that you want to be involved with
Mm-hmm.
self and other people. And that's how you find your people, right? Like when
Yeah.
you open your heart, when you truly love yourself, and then you feel that gut feeling, that's energy, whether it's a energy transfer, a spiritual connection. You might all out there listening have different words for it, gut feeling, whatever, the things
Yeah.
that you need to listen to. And that's how you find your people. And that's how people have found you. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so let's go. I want to take you way, way, way back because I know that you've been a spiritual healer or a spiritual guide for 3 years, right? And you've known about this. So where was Colleen before? Talk about
Yeah.
the growth that you had to do to be awakened by that shift. Like who were you before and how were you struggling to become who you are today?
Yeah, so it's like I look back on Colleen 1.0, we'll call her. And like she was super driven, but almost driven in like the hustle force energy, without the like grace of her.
Mm.
So very much like egotistical, I'm the fucking best, I can move this forward. And it served my pathway at the time. Like it really did, because it got me into rooms. I made calls. I would do cold call. Like it got me into spaces that moved needles forward. Like I was sitting at this table that I wouldn't have been able to be ever sitting at unless I walked up to the CEO of the company at an event one time and stood in my power and actually opened up the doorway there. But it was all done from an energy of I'm not enough and from an energy of watch me create this. So
Wow.
that was drivers in my life, my whole life. My dad didn't give me a lot of attention when I was a child, and not because he didn't love me, but because he always pushed me back onto my mother, like, and that was their passive energy that they held. So I never had a really strong male figure in my life. So I was always seeking that strong male figure. And I would literally chase after guys. I would, like the bosses that you shouldn't be dating. I was like, fuck, I'm going to be dating my boss. Like I would do whatever it took to make sure that I could sleep with my boss. Like that was like a check mark I wanted. Like it was like, so I was driven by this energy of like not feeling worthy, not feeling connected, like really hustling, almost to the point of manipulation. And like I
Wow.
knew there was always something bigger in me. Like I knew there was always something that I was being called to. And I played both laneways. It's like, like the devil and the angel on the shoulder, right?
Yeah.
Like it was like,
Yeah.
I
Absolutely.
always heard God. I always heard the energy coming through, but I was always like, nah, let's go play over here and see what fucking happens. And it led me down some amazing pathways. I have a lot of learning. I can understand people at all different levels now because I've been there. I get it. Right. Which is kind of like, okay, we got new resources, I call it, like we learned the lesson, fucking check mark. Right. But I knew that there was something else. And at the time when I met my first spiritual mentor, all I kept hearing was, you need to do this. And she didn't want to take me on at first either. Because if we talk about like energy, I had a lot of shadow in my field and she could feel it. And she was like, I don't do this kind of work. And they're like, she needs your help. We
Right.
need her to be cleared. We need her in this light. Like I have a massive mission of light on the world. And you can tell when I'm in a room, it's not even if you're even in my field. Like I smile. Like yesterday, the freaking guy at the airport was like, you just made my morning. Just by smiling and being me and just being that. Like,
Fucking crazy.
yeah, that's what it is though. And that's, I think sometimes we forget. It's not, it's like, who are you impacting at the grocery store when you're in line smiling at people? It's
Thank
the
you.
light you emulate in the world.
Yes.
So she agreed to take me on at the time. And it was one of those, I didn't know. I really didn't know. I didn't know. I knew, but I didn't know, and it was like, I just kept trusting and I just kept saying yes. And I just kept investing in things, programs, courses, mentors. And I just kept, and fuck, I was like, it took me like 10 years to really get it. Like, and I was like, I had some really cool lessons, like the scarcity energy and the chasing energy and like all of it. The like I was with an amazing guy and I chose to not step into the space there of holding my own power. And I was like, maybe he'll like not pay attention to this and I'll just do all these other things that I think he wants. And I've learned so much, you know, through the way, but it's like, it always comes back to the purity of us and trusting this energy inside of us and trusting that I am enough, that once I step in and embody this, like moving it through. I know you probably want to chat. I could probably tell you so many more stories, but like
This
what's
is
coming up in your field to converse about?
this is you.
Yeah.
This is all about you, girl. I want you to speak. I want people to hear you. You know what I mean? And that's why this platform is made for the people. You know, like I have told my story, right? But this is for the people. Like, you know, I get asked all the time, well, what do I want to talk about? How much do you want to talk? Like, this is for you.
Yeah.
This is
Thank
for
you.
people to see you. You know?
Yeah.
But I do love what you said about like, it's so interesting when I said when you say hi to people, right? When I said it was
Yeah.
fucking crazy because that's the easiest thing to do, right? And people have
Yeah.
forgotten that.
I totally agree.
It's
Yeah.
crazy. We have
Yeah.
the easiest, all of us have the easiest gift right now of saying hello to everyone you see
Mm-hmm.
or smiling at them.
Yeah.
You know, there's a guy at the gym I try to smile at every fucking day. And he smiled at me like a week and a half ago. And I was like, okay, he is a real fucking human being because he's just like, you know what I mean? He never makes eye contact, so I can't do the eye contact and smile. But it was my mission to be like, "What's up, dude?"
I love it.
I mean, but I mentioned that because whoever led you to your spiritual teacher saw that in you.
Yeah. She kind of fell into my lap. I was working for a mentor at the time and he ended up getting connected to her and she came by his house. Like, obviously, we know nothing happens like in happenstance, like, it all is aligned. And when I saw her, and I didn't even have the money at the time. I was working for a man who paid me $1,000 a month and I worked 7 days a week, like 18-hour days. This story is so potent. It's crazy. But I was in it for the success of, because he had all the success and he saw the talent in me and he saw me for what I actually was, which I had no awareness of at the time. And he used me and he almost like had this like guise of energy around it. Right. So like I was picking up his kids from school. I was nannying the kids. I was running the businesses. I was filling all the seats at the events. I was back of the room sales. I was coaching. I was doing all this stuff for $1,000 a month. And he wouldn't let me make any other money anywhere else. So he kept me tight. And she came into our world and she didn't want to take me on, but she was told she had to. I barely had enough money to pay her because, like, how do you live on $1,000 a month? I could tell you how. And she did a clearing on me that first day.
Podcast.
Yeah, yeah. She did a clearing on me that first day. And she said, I really need you to understand your life is about to change. And I said, all I know is I have to say yes. And 3 days later, when I went back into work, like I was still working, but like it was like the veil had popped. I started to see who he really was. And I started to see all the shit he was doing in the back end because I couldn't see it before. And then within a couple of months, I ended up walking out the door with like $40 in my wallet going, I don't know how I'm going to start this business, but all I know is that I need to do this for myself. And that was 14 years ago. Yeah.
Oh shit, dude.
Yeah. Like, and I figured it out. Like, I used to teach aerobics. And so I went and challenged the exam. I found a gym that needed an instructor for 10 classes a week. So at $30, that paid me more a week working 10 hours. And I made it working 7 days a week, 18-hour days. And now I had all this time to start to actually figure out how I was going to do this. And it was such like the journey is so crazy. Yeah, so crazy. But yeah, it's like so grateful though.
Yeah, it's really interesting when like that veil you talked about like pops. And when you see people for who they are, right? This is
Mm-hmm.
something that I have had to work on my whole fucking life. And I still have to learn fucking lessons, you know, like this last month, I have seen people for who they really, really are by the help of my table and friends by not telling me anything, but just open your eyes, Brittany,
Space.
open your eyes, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I started to open my eyes and then it's like, this has been my line for like 5 days or no. like couple weeks. You know what I mean? It's just like once you see it, you can't unsee it.
Yeah.
You
Can't.
just can't. And then you see more and you see more and you see more. It's
Yeah.
like when I went to in this new, I just, the new salon space that I'm in, I took my friends with me to meet the owner because I was like, I love everybody so big and I just want to make sure
Yeah.
I am seeing what I want to feel, or you
Mm-hmm.
know what I mean? And so we went and, my Vic was like, because my friend Vic went with me and he was like, you gotta do it, girl. And I was like, but I'm going to do myself give myself some space and grace and not react like this, like I always do. And then the next day I was like, yep. And like, I don't know how, like, either. I've only lived here for about 5 months.
Yeah.
That's crazy to take on your own salon by yourself. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so, but I prayed about it. I've been praying about this for like 3 months. And I've been praying about September. Like I was very direct in my messages to the
Mm-hmm.
universe, which is very, very important, which I talked to my girlfriend today about, is like be direct with your messages. You can't just say, oh yeah, someday, I want to do this. And someday, well, that means it's someday. And tomorrow's going to be someday. And the next day is going to be someday.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Set your intention, set a date, set a month, whatever that is. And so I said September, and it came to me in 48 hours, pretty
Yeah.
much.
I'm not surprised.
48 hours. When you're
Yeah.
like, I had like I've been on a waiting list for 3 months for another
Mm.
suite, and I still haven't heard from them. You know what I mean? And it's like, and then I found this in 48 hours. It was
Yeah.
crazy. And I want to say that because, you guys with Colleen's story and just present experience with my life, it doesn't, things that you are asking for spiritually, prayer, whatever that means to you, it's not going to happen right away. So
Mm-mm.
still take action and be consistent immediately with what you're doing and set that intention. So with you, what is like a soul? I want to ask you, what does a soul mission activator mean?
Yeah. Well, all of us have souls in our bodies, and we all have a reason why we're here. And my mission on earth is to literally help you find it and activate it. So, get you to fully step in and hold it and be in it and trust it. And then take that power and actually own your truth and stepping into that truth to create in it. And not everyone's going to be entrepreneurs, and that's totally okay and totally cool, because each soul has a mission no matter what. Like each body, literally each human has some kind of mission, whether it's a mission in distortion, which we're starting to see in the world right now very blatantly, or a mission of light. And it could be that it's like you being the best mom that you can be, and maybe it's about homeschooling your kids so that you create that foundation energy inside of that space. Or maybe it's like you designing something, or you being the best manager you can be for the team at work. Like each of us has something different inside of us. And my job is to really find it in you, help you accelerate it coming up, and literally get you stepping in that power to be able to hold that light. Because every single person lit in their mission is creating a ripple effect in the world in any way, shape, or form that they're doing that. And that is what's needed at this moment of time in the collective energy. So,
Yeah, it is.
yeah,
Might be a rabbit hole of a question, but
I love rabbit holes.
if you're not watching this, I don't know what kind of rabbit impression and what that was, but whatever, it's totally fine. But I want to ask you something. This is like to me, this is a very deep question that people probably won't even, can relate or not to relate. Why do you think the entire world, especially since like 2020, right?
Mhm.
Why do you think this energetic shift is happening now? And why
Yeah.
is it so massive? Why is it separating people so much of hatred, hating
Mm.
themselves, suicide, and then you have this side of leaders creating leaders? Why do you think this is happening right now?
Yeah, so we're at that point in like our evolution on Earth, the Earth experience, that we can't vibrate into the vibration of the purity of our lights without dismantling the shadow. So we're seeing it at a large scale happening on the Earth right now, where there is that divide. And it won't be there always. The divide's happening now so we can actually see the difference between energies. And we'll call it the shadow side, or the darker side is accelerating that light in the world right now because of the fact that the light is shining brighter in the world right now. So both play off of a polarity. We live in a duality world. That's part of the earth mechanism, is duality. So we have inside of us shadow and light. We have outside of us shadow and light. It's part of the whole mechanism. So what's happening with this big divide is people are making a choice to either not do the work, or not to step in, or not to speak their truth, right? And then they're moving to this side, which is the dynamic of the suicides and the hatred, and they're dropping deeper and deeper into the darkness when people keep passing them the light, or they keep calling them forward, but they're making choices to stay and play over here, where the rest of us are like, fuck, I'm going to light it up. Fuck, I'm ready to go. And we're awakening to our actual truth of a human that we are, the truth of divine connection, the truth that we're here for bigger things, the truth that we can expand and be and have abundance and love and divine flow and all of this creation that is actually our birthright as a human. And we're not living in the distortion, we're seeing through it, because we're refusing to go here, because we're doing the work, we're stepping in, we're having the courage, we're speaking our truth, we're moving through the grit of what needs to happen to move it through. So we're in this timeline right now where there is a lot of duality being shown to us on purpose, because we've got to be able to dismantle the shadow. And it's going to get better. Like I say this all the time, by 2027, we are going to be realigned, but 2024 is going to be a really dark year for some people. So it's like really taking that and understanding it. Do you want to stay in your shitstorm and keep going down and down and down? Or are you finally ready to step the fuck in and actually take responsibility in your life and start to move the needle forward so you can come play on the other side with us? And that's the real question.
If you're saying that we're about to drop even deeper into the black hole,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Because sometimes we have to hit the rock bottom to pull out. So I feel like what you're saying is, right now is the opportunity to build your light before it gets dark, so you can be that light in the true darkness. And why do you say that? Why is 2024 going to be dark and 2027 is going to be softened and realigned?
Yeah, because the more people awaken, the more people that own their light, the more we shine light into the shadow. So we can only grow more in light by going through the darkness. We can't. So it's going to keep coming up and keep coming up, because all of these infrastructures that are now leading this collective of energy and creating all these shitstorms and creating this confusion in the world right now are going to be brought to light through the year of 2024. So it means they're going to fucking narrow it in. They're going to try and gas pedal down on their mechanisms. They're going to try and keep controlling the population. They're going to try and keep these more people confused. And the more they bring that into the world, the darker it's going to get. But those of us working in the light know the truth. So we're just going and accelerating through it. But it's going to take some movement, we'll say.
Yeah, girl. I just looked over there because my TV just turned on by itself. So I was
Yeah, of course it did.
of course it did. Of course it did. I mean,
Story of my life.
a lot of energy right now.
Yeah.
A lot of energy. So that's not weird to me. But I was like, oh, okay. That makes total sense. And again, once you see it, you can't unsee it. You guys need to listen to what she's fucking saying. You need to wake up to the shit that is trying to control you to be in the dark place.
Mm-hmm.
I really, really, truly feel this, because so many people are manipulated into the dark and they don't even recognize it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And a lot of that is based on fear.
Mm-hmm.
What are you guys watching? What are you reading? Are you watching the news? Are you reading bad shit all the time? Guess what that's going to do to your brain? Put fear into your brain. Now, there's nothing wrong with getting information, but if it's going into a different direction for you, gives you anxiety, gives you fear, that's not something that's going to add value to your life at all.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what she's saying.
Yeah.
So make sure that you're preparing now, so you can be a light to others when they actually start seeing it. It might take people to be in that really dark hole for being like, oh, fucking shit. Why didn't I listen to Colleen? Why didn't I listen to Brittany? You know what I mean? Why didn't I listen to myself?
Yourself. We all know we're getting the hits every single day, meaning it's dropping it. Maybe you should create that. Maybe you should reach out to that person. Maybe you should leave that relationship. Like it's showing up and you're the one that's not taking the action. We know what needs to move.
Yes.
We are that in tuned.
Yes, we are. Yes,
Yeah.
yes, we are. And once you tap into that, you're even more in tune. That's why it's kind of hard to shut things out. But that's why people, you know, drink obsessively, do drugs obsessively, because they turn that shit off.
Yeah, absolutely. They
You know?
run. You know, I've been through my fair share of stints of like, I wouldn't never say I was an alcoholic, but like there's times where I'm like, I fucking can't handle this. And I'm just like, I'm just gonna drink myself away for the next little while of my life and choose that. You know, I have the occasional drink here and there now, but my body, my physical form can't even hold it like any longer. And it's almost like, yeah, God was like, no, we're gonna create it like shit in your body, so you can't even pretend like you can go back there. I'm like, okay, thank you. Like thank you for putting in the like buffers, in my field because they know like I'm a rebellion. Like I own a rebel energy, and it serves me so well in dismantling infrastructures and really getting people to fucking hear the fact that they're playing in this mediocrity life that they don't need to play in. Like it serves me, but it also serves me in like experiences, I could go to the dark side of the rebellion and be like, fuck this bullshit, and like just like blowing shit up like we talked about. So
Right.
like I have a pulse point on her where I'm like, okay, you can go rebel by jumping out of a plane, but you're not going to go rebel by blowing up your whole fucking business like you've done in the past. Remember those times? Do you remember? So I have her in check now, like, so
Yeah.
it's like
And that's, I
a
think
fun.
that's the hardest thing to do when you have a rebel spirit, because I definitely have a rebel spirit for sure. For
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Not bad though. It's not bad. There was a time when I was depressed for 10 years where it was bad. I
Yeah.
was drinking heavily, was with alcoholics, all these things. So my receptors were totally off. And now that they're so open and I'm so open to receiving, it's like a couple of weeks ago, I celebrated my 20-year hair anniversary. So I took
Nice. Congratulations.
out. Thank you.
Yeah.
And then I had the soft opening for the salon space studios, the studio space that I'm working for. That's a bunch of studios in the same space. And I had like three ciders. I haven't drank ciders in like a super long time. And then like a couple of us had like some champagne, to celebrate. And I was like, the next day I was like,
Yeah.
I hadn't drank for a month.
Yeah.
I just don't feel like because I know that alcohol, like your energy, it closes receptors off in your body. Now, is it
Yeah.
fun and enjoyable? Absolutely. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it was just interesting when you just have a little bit and what you're talking about. Oh, your body's like, yeah, no, we want you to be open all the time.
Yeah. Well, and it makes it a lot easier for the work I do because then if someone's like, "Hey, what do you feel off of this?" Like I don't have a veil where I can't be like, I'll let you know tomorrow because I've already had a glass of wine, because it distorts the field and it is a low vibration when we bring it into our body. Now we can make conscious choices to like hang
Sure.
out, party, celebrate, and all that kind of stuff, but I am in awareness going, okay, you're having a drink today. So for the next few days, you're not doing any of this kind of work because what
Yeah.
if? What if I open up and I have some girlfriends of mine that smoke a lot of cannabis, and I'm like, dude, depending on the energy you're smoking it in, you are opening up portal ways for people to come in. So you've got to fucking close that shit consciously if you're going to step into that space. And I'm not for or against it. I'm just like, we just need to pay attention to what we're doing and why are we doing it and what's driving it, and all of that kind of dynamic.
That is a beautiful, I hope you guys wrote that down. That is probably a really, really huge, huge lesson of action that we all must do now. Like when I celebrated, like I wasn't even going to celebrate that. And, my friend was like, are you going to celebrate that? And I was like, I don't know. I didn't think about that. Well, you should celebrate those things, right? And I
Mm-hmm.
had the best fucking time. I had the best fucking time. I mean, like all my people were there. The grand opening was amazing. I had the best time. I just didn't feel like myself the next day. You know what I mean? It wasn't a
Yeah.
lot of alcohol, but it was enough because I really haven't wanted to drink anyways,
Yeah.
but it's very interesting when you talk about cannabis because a long time ago when I was going through therapist after therapist after therapist, I finally met a medium who was a medium and a therapist, probably
Yeah.
like yourself, right?
Yeah.
And it was the best therapy session I have ever had in my entire life.
Yeah.
And I never knew what she meant until right now. She was
Mm.
like, there was certain, like, my real dad came into that therapy session. My dad did. And it was just like things that I never recognized about myself. Like the receptors, like I had no idea. And, and she was like, Brittany, you got to stop, like, smoking weed so much, and I'm like, well, I just smoke it at night. Like my brain is just like this,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? And I never understood. I wish she would explain that you're not
Why?
in the right energy, right?
Yeah.
Because at that time I was still working on myself, really trying to learn to love myself in this space, right? So that night, she told me about the cannabis the next day. Because that night, I can't fucking tell you how many evil spirits were in my room.
Seriously.
It was crazy. I could see them. Like, I'm like, what did you just do to me? I texted the next, I'm like, what did you just do to me? Like, you opened my whole world up to so many things that I've always known that were there. I've always known it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
she's like, did you smoke weed last night? And I was like, well, yeah, man. I took a whole Brit, you know what I mean? Because I just was
Yeah.
like, that was a lot to download and it just relaxes me, blah, blah, blah. And she was like, well, like you need to stop doing that. But I never knew why until
Yeah.
what you said. It was
Right
this
now.
a different type of energy back then.
Yeah.
Or now if that happens, it's like, for me, it's like a fun time, you know what I mean? And just like joyful and everything like that.
Yeah.
And, but it was so interesting. It's just interesting, uh, overall,
Mm-hmm.
society has taken from alcohol and drugs, how it's manipulated into one area. There's so many different areas and roads that this can go down.
Oh,
And
yeah.
once you understand where that energy is, or like you talked about, okay, well, I'm going to have a couple glasses of wine this weekend. That means I'm not going to do anything energetically with clients for 3 days or whatever that is.
Yeah.
And that's a great way to look at it too. You know what I mean? Like, what if you have an interview the next day? What if you have this the next day? Like, what are you doing to set yourself up for success and to really keep your mind open and true and honest and, vulnerable, really? I
Yeah,
mean,
and I love how you brought up seeing. So part of like the work I do is I help activate spiritual gifts. So I work with clients on being able to like the TV is going nuts. I know, like being able to step into their vision, to seeing or hearing or smelling or feeling and active. I actually have a program that I do twice a year. It's called Activate, and it literally is one of the pillars in the program is activating spiritual gifts. So I'm not surprised you mentioned that today.
that's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I feel like, when we all have a mission and a purpose, there's gifts in that, and we just have to like be open to it. And, I feel like the people that are open to it right now are the ones in the light.
Mm-hmm.
And the people that are just getting just polluted with fear and the government,
Mm-hmm.
I had to say it, I'm sorry. I'm
Yeah.
not sorry, but like, I mean, just come on, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, there's a reason. There is a reason all this shit's going down. There's
Yeah.
a reason why people want you to be blind. There is a reason. I mean, what Sean has created, lions, not sheep. There's a reason why you have to be a lion and lead your own life and not be a goddamn sheep, whether you like Sean Whalen or not. I'm just saying, people ask me this all the time. It's like, oh, that guy. And I'm like, well, just hear yourself out. Just be a leader, not a follower. Like plain
Yeah.
and simple. Plain and
Yeah.
simple. You don't have to like the guy, but like what he stands for, like what the meaning of that line, just
Well,
be a
it's
leader of your own life.
sovereignty. Yeah,
Mhm.
it's sovereignty. It's about in your own energy space. Are you sovereign? Are you in alignment with your values? Is your financial house in order? Are you stepping in? Is your health in order? Like it's that sovereign energy. And Sean, does it in a very crass, masculine alpha way, which serves some people to hear it that way because we need fucking 2x4s going across us some days, you know, like on some of the calls where he's like, you guys are fat, lazy fuckers, you know, and I start laughing because like, I just am like I live in a very flow state. I work with a lot of divine energy. I have been leaning more into femininity. Like I said to you, I was very much in the space of some of the dynamics of what Sean teaches, but I'm able to now pull the nuggets of what I need and where I was drawn into the den to be able to take it and pull it into my field in the way that serves my mission on earth. And it is accelerating and it is amplifying. And some of you will get triggered by the fact that he calls you a fat fucker, but maybe that's because you actually are a fat fucker and it's time for you to actually own that and step into that and take responsibility there. When we get triggered, there's something going on inside of us that's showing us a mirror of the things we need to work within, right? So, but the mission is, are you leading your life? And do you have the life you actually desire? And if you do not, what needs to start to shift? Because if it's in you, it's for you. If you see a life, it's not outside of you. It wasn't just handed to you like you think maybe one day you could have this dream. It's yours to bring to life, yours to hold, all of it, every piece. But it's us that are blocking that from happening.
I totally agree with you, you know, and it's like, you know, there's so many coaches out there to help you. You know what I mean? There's so many different coaches that are in the light and that speak truth. There's a lot of coaches who are lying and manipulative and like, you know, almost like to the point of hypnotizing you, right?
Yeah.
To a degree that is not safe, right? Now, you know, yeah, Sean is very, very, very masculine, you know, but I used to be in a masculine role for a very long time until just a year ago. That's when, you know, that 99 to 100% of really truly loving myself. It has taken me 12 years and it will still continue to really fully love myself. But it was once I understood the feminine side of me, and then, you know, meeting Daniel and having him let me be feminine and he gets to be masculine, it has really shifted the whole way I look at things. And, you know, I take nuggets from everybody. You know what I mean? I don't have to follow like one particular person or everything that they say. You know, once you grow, like you might, okay, that person doesn't serve me anymore. Or that person is not even serving themselves anymore. So I need to be a leader bigger than what I am because it's there, or follow like a different path. And that is okay. We're all here to learn these lessons, whether it's for a lifetime, a season, or a reason. And things shift all the time. You know, people that you look up to, all of a sudden you don't, because they have shifted and you are still growing. And that, you know, that could happen to you too, but just pay attention to those things, because that is when the darkness is trying to just come back, come knocking at your door. And those are the things that are really sometimes the hardest to pay attention to.
Oh, it's the small whispers that we hear that are leading us down that pathway. There's two whispers happening, the whisper of the light and the whisper of the dark. And you get to choose which one you're listening to. You know, when Jordan Peterson said it, you know, when you lie, who's actually on your tongue? Like, right. And that was a big one, going, holy fuck, like that is an energy. Like when are you in the purity of your light when you're lying? Are you owning your truth? No. And even the small white lies, the ones that you don't think are like important, every single ripple is leading you in one direction. So what direction are you living in?
Yeah.
You know?
You guys don't know who Jordan Peterson is? Follow him. Jordan Peterson, fucking goddamn Jordan Peterson, man. Like, I mean, and Ronan was amazing too, but you know, Jordan was just, he's beyond people's minds. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He is so beyond. He's like on another planet. You know what I mean? And he's trying to, like, if you're not paying attention, you'll miss something in like 5 seconds. You know what I mean? But his message, so this is what he said. It's like, when you guys are lying, what voice is actually talking? That was so like, just holy shit, man. Because, you know, and I talked about this in my coaching call on Tuesday. Like, I very much mirrored what he said, because who is talking? Is it our programming from our childhood?
Yeah.
Why we say certain things? Is it our programming from as we were teenagers? Is it something that we heard? Is it something that we truly, truly, truly believe? Because our truth is like, it's true to us, but it not might be the actual facts, right? So
Mm-hmm.
when we speak, the most important thing to do before is listen.
Yeah.
You become a master listener, you will become a master of speaking, you
Mm-hmm.
know? And he was mind blowing. I wrote like 10, my whole book is all just, bleh. I mean, I wrote so much down. It was just so cool to be in his presence, and to see, everybody in his presence was just, it was so magical. It was
It
so,
it was. Yeah, he was great. The challenge I have now that I have to really like drop into is I can't read half my writing in the book. And I went to go review it and like really lean into it. I'm like, what the fuck does this mean? So now I have to like drop back into like the time I was sitting there writing it and go,
right.
what was I trying to spell? Like, so that's my whole other new logistics perspective of like writing, because I'm so in flow that I'm like not paying attention to the tactileness of like
Uh-huh.
being present. So
Yeah.
funny.
That's how I was writing things last year. And so I was very intentional how I wrote things down this year, because I was like, because they're so fun to go back and read and be like, oh,
Oh, for sure.
that nugget. Um, so what are you doing now? So I know you've written a book, you have an album coming out, and you have
Mm-hmm.
a podcast. So talk about those things.
Well, the book was like a long time ago. I will have a new book probably coming out in 2024. I haven't leaned into it yet, but the book will be called Bullshit. Like that's what the book is going to be called, about like really owning your truth. And it's like, so it's going to be really kind of fucking cool. But I start recording the album on October the 3rd, and I'm not, well, plant medicine. You obviously heard Sean talk about ayahuasca a lot. When I was in a ceremony in June, ayahuasca said to me, you need to own that you are an artist and a poet and a musician, and not just, the driven boss babe or the spiritual guide or like all the other dimensions that I've stepped into and been able to own, but you need to own this. And I knew an album was coming, but it's not like a singing album. It's like chanting and light language. Like I tap into like light language. So I speak other galactic languages, we'll say. And it's me and my drum, and I have a rattle from one of the tribes here in Costa Rica, a custom rattle. And I need to buy one more drum that makes up the three actual like bass lines of the music. And then it's me chanting, singing with some background chanting, singing, and like the voiceovers. And it's 11 songs. And the album's called Becoming in the Jungle. And it's really all about a certain experience, and each song will be in a certain energy. So maybe activating spiritual gifts, it might be clearing out shadow energy, it might be like one of the songs dropped in today while I was at breakfast, that's a sacred union, blending of an energy of sacred union. And so I don't know what it's going to look like yet because it's all channeled. So even my music producer who's coming here to my place and we're going to figure it out together. Like there's no studios here. Like it's not like you can go to a studio rent. No, like we're doing this in the rawness of literally the jungle and like literally
Oh,
creating with this
cool.
vibe. I know. So it's gonna be cool. So I'm excited to see it come to life and being able to hold this, because for like a year, like I've been doing a lot of light language in ceremonies, in activations, like in downloading meditations and stuff with clients as well, and using it to help. It's a quantum energy, like that's all that it is. So like when you talk about William Lamb and like really going in and pulling out the root, like Vic, some of the work Vic does, right? I literally quantum collapse time. So when I'm activating, I'm pulling it from divine instead of the conscious dynamics of words. So it's going to be really cool to see how it all plays out and comes together. But I don't know. I'm just
I'm
acting.
excited. I'm
Yeah.
excited because the energy that you pull is going to be in the music. So when someone is sitting and listening to it, meditating, yoga
Yeah.
practices, being with your partner, who knows, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like cooking, like whatever that is, that energy is going to be like pulsating through people, Colleen. That is so fucking cool. I cannot wait for that. Music is very, very powerful for me.
Yeah. It'll be
It
fun.
really shifts people's energies like this. Think about that for a minute. It's like if, for example, if you were drumming for everyone in the world at the same time, everyone would be on the same vibration. It was just like, when 2020 shut down, there was 1 month that the whole world was absolutely together. I will
Mm-hmm.
never forget that month. Like, everybody was together. They were feeling the same. They were locked down the same. Nothing bad had happened. It was just shut down. That was bad, but we didn't know like the consequences of that until all this shit started happening. But there was just that month of just like people all saying the same thing, feeling the same thing. It was this really beautiful harmony of everyone being together. And then it just went completely upside down.
Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, that's how powerful like energy can be. And that's what just
Yeah.
made me think like, how do we get everyone to listen to you all at the same time? And that's what Alec's trying to do, right? He's trying to get
Mm.
everybody to listen to his drums and what he's saying all at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah, it's powerful.
It's
And like I got gifted from my shaman this drum. So
wow.
last year I channeled the white buffalo woman, and I was channeling her in a circle. So I do these like spiritual circles every month, and I channel different deities. And she said, look, I have a white buffalo drum that I've never initiated. So she was just told not to yet, to claim it as her own. So she gave it to me. And when she heard me channel the drum and the language that came through me with that chant, she says, that's your drum. So the drum is the lead on the album because it came, like, I met her in the jungle. The work we did together in the early part of 2023 was in the jungle, like the unearthing experience I went through. So all the pieces, like the rattle is from an ancient, like it's called the Bribri tribe here in Costa Rica, one of the 5 main indigenous tribes that was made in their land, on their tribal land. Like, it's, the whole album is this purity of energy that like, move it together and let's see how this shapes. So it's, I don't know what to expect. I don't have an expectation. All I know is I'm going to drop in and serve, and we'll see what shows up through it all. Like, it's just going to be like, I've never recorded an album. I'm not an artist. Like, like I would have never claimed this, but in school I used to play 5 different musical instruments. Like, my number one intellectual capacity is in music and sound coordination, because I hear music, I hear the beats. Like, when I taught aerobics, I could hear the music. That's why I was so good at it. So it was like, yeah. So it's going to be really cool. Really
Oh my
cool.
gosh, that is so cool. I'm so
Yeah.
grateful for you. And I can't wait
Thank you.
for like you sharing this gift with the world, and that's why it's so cool you're here on this podcast. So, um, talk about a little bit real quick about what your Light Warriors podcast is about.
Yeah, so it's called Light Warriors Unleashed, and it basically dropped in, like, because everything I do is an intuitive hit. In February of this year, it was like, your podcast needs to come out. I was like, podcast? What do you mean? Like, I'm recording a podcast? They're like, we need it out by the end of February. And I said, well, what is this? And it's like, the premise is about owning the revolution. So owning the purity of light inside of us. So speaking truth into the world. And I have guests that come on in all different places, like one child trafficking and sex trafficking, and another about dismantling the school system. And
Wow.
I'm all about whatever truth is coming through you that is powerful enough that other people need to hear. I want you to come on and let's speak truth, and let's talk about this. Let's talk about the shadow work we go through. Let's talk about the dynamics of change. Let's talk about, breath work and your journey through breath work, or let's talk about human design and the gene keys and how it's fueling truth into people. It's all a basis of truth. And every week I do a solo episode, and I do a guest episode every week. So I've just paused it for the next couple weeks because I'm at 57 episodes. I needed to just regroup a bit. I want to change the branding. So season 2 is launching after we record the album on the 3rd, because we're going to re-record all the beginning parts of the podcast and stuff while we're together. And because she's also my podcast producer. So she's like, okay, when I come to you, let's do this live. We'll do it all. And then we'll get the new season coming out the following week. And I'm like, okay. So it's the same, like sexual expression, owning your edge. Like, how do you step into this truth? How do you own who you really are? Like, and that's really what it's all about.
Yeah. I'm very, cause I didn't like, I guess when I, read your bio a long time ago, I didn't see that. And I was like, ooh, I want to listen to her podcast. Like, I'm very excited. All this information what did I just say? Information is going to be in the drop box below. So, like, use it to your advantage, you guys. If you guys want to listen to it, listen to it. If not, not. But I'm sure everything you listen to from her and her podcast is also going to be extremely powerful. And I love that you said, like, anything that needs to speak through us will speak through it. That's how I do every single podcast. Every single I have like little notes, you know what I mean? I don't do that to everybody, but you had so much I didn't want to forget, you know what I'm saying? And so it's just so important that, whatever you believe in, God, your spirit guide, whatever that means, I want these to always speak through us on this platform. It's so important to me. It's like one of the most important things that I do on this podcast. And I can't wait I love that you're going to do like a season 2 and launch a whole different energetic vibe to that. That's such a phenomenal idea, and it's like planting another seed and letting that grow. You know what I'm saying? That's really, really cool. So, so last couple questions, I have, what does this next year look like for you, and what are you wanting to accomplish in this year?
Such a great question. I was having this conversation with myself last night driving home. Like, I have a driver that picks me up from the airport and stuff. And like I said, it's 3.5 hours, right? So you get a lot of time. You come off a plane and then you route back into a car and drive in the jungle at night. So it's like time to reflect. And I go, what is really important for this next year? Like, what really feels aligned for me? And this is the conversation literally I was having yesterday with myself. And I'll say this here because I'll just claim it into the world, because I think it's important that we claim it, especially when things fucking feel like, holy shit, am I actually going to say this? Because somebody might be listening to this that is really aligned with Sean, and it might get back to him that I fucking claim this on here. But I'm going to be speaking on the stage of Lion's Den Live next year because of the fact that from where I went to for who I am today compared to the growth that I'm having in the next year that's moving through, the story needs to be told. My body's in goosebumps now. The story needs to be told of the actions and belief that I took and the implementation of what I went through to align this. And what that means is over $1 million will be created in my brand over the next year, which means a lot more people are going to be served and helped. The impact I'm making with the lights that I'm about to like light the fuck up and get people in their lane, the ripple effect is going to be so massively big in the world that I'm just every day going to be getting messages like, oh my God, you're never going to believe this. And I believe everything because I really this is the world I play in and live in. My health dynamic is going to be so shifted because of the fact that I'm really tuned in to what my body desires to hold and be in this world and in this life. I'm going to meet my guy in the next year. And it's going to be this really connected and loving relationship. And like my spiritual practices are going to be honed in on if anything I took from Ronan's talk was like his morning routine and his morning practices and how important it is to set the tone in our lives. And that would be the place that I really, the business as well. I make money every day. Like I've set it up that way. I'm about to scale. My coach that I work with on Monday on our call, he was like, fuck, what the hell happened to you? I was like, dude, I got it all. This is what we're building. This is what it looks like. And I know what is about to transpire. I feel it. I know that it's coming. But it's like the spiritual practice side, like that really dedicated to the ritual of being a human and expanding in the human energy is the important part for my next levels of being able to hold the capacity of what I'm creating. And all of that can still continue to move, but it will never get to where it's meant to go without this piece being in play. and not the half piece, like the all in piece. So I claim it now that I will be a story being told on the stage of LDL about where I was in the room last year to where I am now because of the decision that I made at like, and it's been moving through my field for a while, but I got to talk to William Lamb on Saturday night, and him and I was like, okay, so this is what I do. The work you do it your way through like NLP practices and all that. I do it spiritually. So I drop them into a meditative state. I take them back to the root of the emotion. We go to past life, ancestral lineage, wherever we have to go, pull the root, do this. And him and I were going back and forth. So I'm like, tell me about spirituality. And he's like, it's actually our divineness and our dimensional capabilities are done through the unconscious mind. And I'm like, of course they are. So we went back and forth, but right at the end of our conversation, he looked me in the eye and he says, it's time, isn't it? And I was like, yeah, it's time. Like, it's not like halftime. It's not like the time 2 years ago where it was time. It's not like the time 5 years ago where it was time. It's like my whole body's in goosebumps as I say this to you. It's actually time. And I'm actually available for all of it and willing to do whatever work is necessary to hold it. So I will be that story standing up on stage next year going, because I made a choice and every day I stepped into the choice and every day I moved the needle on the choice, this is what happens.
Right.
But, and like, yeah, so that's what I'll claim out into the world in this sphincter of energy, we'll say.
I love that. I love that. I love that. And congratulations for speaking your truth right here, right now, and just, I will say that will happen because last year when I was at Lions Den Live, I said the same thing. I wanted to speak on stage because he had a lot of speakers throughout the den. He had about 10 speakers that were just there. And he wasn't having speakers this year. And I was like, so bummed. I'm like, God, like I've been asking for this like for so long.
Yeah.
But I did get to speak at Lions Den Live.
Yeah, you did at the Thursday night event.
And that didn't dawn on me until afterwards. I was like, wait, I did speak at Lions Den Live. I did speak to the people, and thanks to Jen Solomon, that she put these people in a room and we spoke to 60 to 100 people that night.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I was like, it might have not happened. This is the thing about manifesting. It might not happen exactly how you think it's going to happen, but it will happen in a different way.
Yeah.
And that's what the beautiful thing is when you accept it and when you acknowledge that. And it's such a cool vibration that you have with the people. The people is, to me, everything. And because the people is where we need to shine our light, because the people need to shine our light. Mm-hmm. And we need to shine it together. So it's so beautiful. And, one last thing is, if anyone is struggling, right, to find their light and their purpose and their power, what are the top 3 things that you would tell somebody to try to find their own light to give to themselves in order to give to others?
Yeah, the first thing I would just share with them is that it's in the stillness. And most of us are running lives and playing in the mechanisms and doing all the things and rushing around, and we forget to be still. So I would say to you, start taking some time and quieting your mind, going out in nature and going for walks, and really start to open up that connection within, because then you're going to be able to actually hear it. Because right now you're not hearing anything. You're only hearing the noise of the car like honking behind you, or the noise of your kids running around the room. You're not taking the time to quiet yourself and actually start to like really open up your heart to the availability of being able to move this through. And then once you start to do that, just start to listen and take action in the listening. And then you'll start to see it move and move and move and move. And yeah, it's a beautiful process, but it goes against all the things we've been taught, right?
Yes, it does. And that is retraining your mind. You have the ability to train yourself from your programming that you had in your past to program what you want. That's literally what she's saying. That is so beautiful, as children are screaming their bloody heads off in the background. I mean, but it's just so beautiful. We have the ability. It is our choice. That's what people don't understand. Like, we get to choose to do whatever we want, unprogram what we feel and think. And yes, it does take 30 days to change a habit, right? But like 30 days, 10 years, how many habits can you change?
Mm-hmm.
About
Yeah.
that. Think about
Yeah.
that. Think about what she's saying, you guys. Like,
Yeah.
we are all capable of who we are and who we need to become to be the best people that we can be. And we really
Yeah.
illuminate as much love and kindness as we can right now together, individually
Mm-hmm.
and together. We need to
Yeah.
come together. And I'm telling you, you guys, like, don't be a stranger to her either. Like, she's on Instagram. She's all over the place. Like, I will put her information in the drop box below as well. Reach out to her. She
Mm-hmm.
came to me. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, people are going to come to you, or you need to ask to be in
Yeah.
the light. You know what I mean? Either way, it works just the same. So don't be afraid. I know I say this all the time in every podcast, but like, the biggest thing that you will regret is not asking.
Yeah. It's true. And like, I'm always in my DMs. Like, shoot me off a mess. If there's something in this that was like, holy fuck, that really felt like a lot. Like, I want to know. I want to know, like, and I always say, like, and I made this proclamation. So I joined one of William's groups, and like, you had to make this like, what is this big goal that you want? And I'm like, I want to light a million lights. I want to claim that, a million lights, not $1 million, a million lights. And whether that's through this podcast, whether that's through my podcast, whether that's through my Instagram and free content, whether, like, even if people do not ever spend a dime in my world, I want an imprint that way. And people are like, well, how are you going to measure it? I'm like, I will know. I will know the day that I go, we just crossed a million. I will just know. And it will just be one of those things. Like, my job though is to keep showing up. My job is to keep amplifying, and like, is to keep stepping in. And I know that is my job. So I encourage you to send me a message. Like, I want to know. I want to know how this landed. I want to know. And if you're like, you're a fucking bitch and I hate you, send me that too. Cause I ate those up. Like,
Same girl, same. I love
yeah.
I love that. I love that so much, because you're not afraid. You shouldn't be afraid to share. You shouldn't be afraid to ask questions. You should
Yeah.
never let fear get in the way of any fucking thing you do, because fear is just a motherfucking feeling, yo.
Yo.
Well, thank you so much for being here.
No, thank you so much for
So
having me.
much. Like,
Yeah.
energy has filled up my entire place, I just love that. And, to the audience who are listening, and to the people that came up to me at Lions Den Live, for you guys who have listened to my podcast, like that gives me, I'm going to get emotional, but thank you so much for not being afraid to say hello to me. It meant the world to me. You are the reason why I want to continue to do this podcast and keep going, because like I said in the beginning, sometimes I just want to burn the motherfucking thing down.
Yeah.
That's where you shift into that power and you just keep going. And so I just want to say to you all, like, I'm so grateful for this audience. I'm so grateful for you. I fucking love you. I really do. And Colleen, I love you. I fucking love you too, girl. Like, very, very much. So thank you for being here. Thank you for shining your light. And, I think it would be really fun, to do this podcast again in a year.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And
Let's
like,
do it.
know, see where we are, see where you are. I think that would be really, really fun
Mhm.
and exciting, and just, see the growth. And it'll be 2024 at that time. So it'll be a very, cool way to bring lightness into that dark place again.
Oh, so cool. And yeah, it's going to be, so there's a people attached to Lion's Den that are going to be listening to this, which is going to be really fun, because now I just made an imprint into the energy. So now it's not just me manifesting me being on stage. Whoever is listening to this is also now visualizing that happening. So like, we're dismantling some stuff. So it would be so fun. And I just want to say I'm grateful. Like, I'm grateful for the messaging you're bringing forth. I'm grateful for you and the energy that you're showcasing in. And like, let's just keep burning some shit down and keep being beautiful flames of light.
Yeah. Fuck yeah. And all of you, let's manifest that light. Let's burn that fire bright together. I know, we
Yes.
believe that's true. So again, thank you so much. I hope you guys have a great Monday. Even though it's not Monday today, but this comes out on Monday. So we're not going to be in October, are we? No, not in October, still September, but it will be the last couple weeks of September. So enjoy this, embrace it, let go of things that you need to let go of in September, and accept the things that you need in October, and reach out to us. We're here for you. We love you, and we want you to learn how to shine your light and love yourself. So thank you.
Thank you.